We begin our second to last week of the Fall 2 session, Week 7, Corporate Finance. It's Professor Hasse speaking live and in color this Monday, December 5th from Claremont, California. Our topic this week is mainly case assessment, case number 3, and the electrics case. Case number 3 due Sunday, December 11th, and the electrics case Sunday, December 18th. We're also talking about strategies that drive capital decision making. And those center on 4 articles I would like you to read because you can incorporate these articles in case number 3 and in your electrics case. And then on Friday, our update video will have some electrics case review, especially that checklist that we've been talking about and some of the questions that are being asked in that case. And also we'll talk about other strategies that drive decision-making, which is basically mergers and acquisitions. So that's where we are this week as we head into the next to last week of our study. This next to last week of the course is also a good time to assess your grade average, your cumulative grade average in our class by referring to the report card section in your Blackboard, making sure all your grades have been posted and you have no questions in that regard. This is a good week to do that because we have 2 more grades left, roughly about 45% of your course grade. Roughly half the course is yet to be decided in your case number 3 and the electrics case. So now is a good time to assess and see where you stand and get ready for the final 2 weeks of our course. Here's the link to the electrics case review this Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. It's via Zoom. Again, it's voluntary. It's only there to help students with any questions or concerns they have about the material. And also, if you have any questions about case number 3, you're more than welcome to come on to that Zoom. Remember also, we have our student hours every Thursday night from 6 to 8, where you can come online and ask questions. As you can see, this week is our case number 3, which is due Sunday. Then we have the electrics case the last week of the class. So as you can see, 45% of our course grade is determined these last 2 weeks. Your course evaluations should be completed by December 20th, and your final course grades will be posted to Blackboard by Thursday, December 22nd. So that's our schedule over these next few weeks to wrap up this corporate finance class. We refer now to the case study, case number 3. I've given you a rubric, I've given you the case, and I've given you a sample of the PowerPoint. Remember, this case, a little bit different in the presentation. It's a PowerPoint. You'll be putting together a maximum of 10 slides of a presentation of a financial statement analysis of your company that you selected way back in week number 1. So as you can see, throughout our class, we've done spreadsheets, we've done PowerPoints, we've done APA format papers, different presentations of strategic information. And that's the nature of our course. So we'll talk about case number 3 in just a minute, but just to continue on in our Blackboard, week number 7 is our week of study. Here's our learning assignments for this week. There's our agenda, which you saw at the beginning of this video. There's another reminder of our review on Saturday. And here's the 4 articles I was talking about. 2 of these articles were in last week's week 6, financial statement analysis, a model for effective financial analysis, and an article analysis of financial statements. And then we have 2 other articles that I would like you to read this week: measures that drive performance and strategy without disrupting your organization. We'll talk about those articles a little bit today and also in our weekend update video at the end of the week. And then here's a short little video about mergers and acquisitions, just a brief outline and discussion of what key points of mergers and acquisitions. So that's what we're talking about this week. So first of all, let's take a look at case number 3, the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, case number 3 is again some more financial interpretation and review. of your company. We spent a lot of time in the company you selected way back in the first week. We've done a credit analysis. We've looked at financial information. We've looked at their financial statements. And now we're taking a little bit more detailed look at their financial statements in putting together a PowerPoint presentation. You are to do, first of all, you are to make an analysis of 2 subsequent quarters. The quarter ending 9/30 September 2022 and the quarter ending 9/30/21. This is where your trend and your review analysis is taking place. Your analysis should include at least one analytical equation from each of the 4 sections of financial analysis: profitability, asset management, and liquidity and debt management. Remember, those 4 were given to you last week in week 6. Here they are, taken right out of the textbook. These are the areas of profitability, asset management, liquidity, and debt management. You are to take one from each of these 4 and do a financial analysis, find the information of your company from September 30th, 22 and September 30th, 21. So for example, you could take profit margin, you could take total asset turnover, you could take current ratio, you could take total debt to assets, or whatever. But one from each one of these groups is what I'm requiring in this case. In your analysis, once you get this information, you are to answer the following question. Has the firm improved its performance from the previous year? In your opinion, is the firm managed efficiently? And as a potential investor, would you consider this a stock you would purchase? Case number 3 is a financial statement analysis of a company selected at the beginning of your fall 2 session. Structurally, the students will present the case as follows. You will select one from each one of the ratio classes for 9/30 and 22/21, and you can compare them and do an interpretation on this performance or financial information. You do not need to research anything else about the companies, just in those 4 areas that you're concentrating on in this financial statement analysis. Now, in your work, I've given you a sample of a PowerPoint from a prior class just to get the basic format. Again, I hope you add a little bit more pizzazz to yours, but let's take a look at that format from a prior presentation. Again, this is an example of the format that I would like you to cover in the work with these 4 ratios, interpretation, answering those 3 questions. It's kind of like how I like this. Now, in the real world, you would be actually presenting this PowerPoint slide to some investors, to managers, to me. But all you have to do is come up with the slide. You do not have to present this in any shape or form to anybody. Naturally, you have your heading slide. You have your agenda. You have the financial statement interpretation of whatever company you selected in week 1. 4 sections of financial analysis. Now, naturally, the quarters would be 9/30, 22, and 21, looking at these 4 areas of financial statement interpretation. And you go about putting this information into a slide. Here's your liquidity ratio, asset management, debt management, and profitability. Notice a brief definition of what it is, the actual information, and maybe a brief review of that information. And then you have a review slide where you look at and answer those 3 questions that I gave in the case. Notice this is a PowerPoint, so we don't have to write pages and paragraphs of information. We just keep it concise and get to the point of what you're trying to say about the review of this particular or your particular company. How has the firm improved from the previous year? Is the firm managed efficiently? As a potential, would you consider, based on the information you have reviewed, reform those 4 areas? What is your interpretation of this information? A brief overview analysis. Finally, this is kind of a nice little pretty little slide to do. And then your references, where you received your information for this case. So that's what we're doing here in case number 3. So you're again looking up the data and then putting it into a slideshow or PowerPoint slide. Notice it's quick, into the point, bullet points, but concise, not a lot of dialogue, not too much busy work, very clean and informative. That's what I'm looking for in my assessment of this work. Here's the rubric for this case, how I'm going to be grading this case number 3. Use of data and data research for, excuse me, this should be 22 and 21, I beg your pardon, 33%. Analysis and interpretation, bullet points, interpret the analyzed data, 1/3. And your case format, presentation, grammar. Does it flow easily? And this is not too much busy work. Remember, this is a PowerPoint presentation, not a paper, not a spreadsheet. You're being bullet points. You're being concise, but at the same time, very easy to read on the eyes of whoever's reading it, notably me. So 1/3 on the data, 1/3 on your interpretation and analysis, 1/3 on your presentation format. That's what I'm looking for in case number 3. So again, mainly you have to crunch the data, and that's pretty easy for a lot of companies. A lot of that data is out there, and fine tune it to those particular quarters, 9/30/22 and 9/30/21, and put together your slides. You can feel free to use the format that I've provided, but I'd like to see a little bit individuality in your work of your company, but that's for you to decide. Remember, 1/3 of your grade is on presentation and format. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. But by now in this course, you should be getting pretty familiar with that company you selected way back in week number 1 and pretty well know where the data is and how you can go about explaining this financial statement interpretation and ratio analysis. Also this week, in addition to working on your case number 3, you continue your work on the electrics case. You still have some more time on that, but you should pretty well by this week wrap up most of the analysis by the weekend and put your and then writing it the next week. So in my Friday video, weekend video, we'll be going over this checklist, fine tuning it, making sure we understand the data. Remember, there's a couple of major areas in this work that are new to us or new to you. Find the depreciation schedule for marginal accelerated cost recovery for the $17 million project. It's a percentage per year that must total 100% over the 8 years. And then to determine the warranty. Every unit produced for the 8 years of this project has a warranty that lasts 5 years. The key is to interpret that by using a net present value calculation of those 5 years of costs into one number, and that would be one of your variable costs for this project. So we'll take a look at the format. We'll take a look at how to present this in our weekend video. Also, again, if you want to put together a draft this week of your spreadsheet for these 2 products, feel free to send it to me, and I'd be more than happy to review and look it over. So case 3, electrics case, and then also a little bit of highlights of mergers and acquisition later on in the week. So a lot going on, and that mergers and acquisition will lead into week 8 as well. So don't worry too much about it if you don't get to it this week. We will lead into that into week 8 because there's no other study going on in week 8 because you're going to concentrate on that electrics case. We'll talk more about that at the end of the week. I'm available Thursday evening, and we'll see you maybe Saturday afternoon at our review session. Have a great week, everybody. Adios.